There's a secret Napoleon Hill took to the grave. It wasn't in Think and Grow Rich. It wasn't in any interview. And yet every billionaire, visionary, and empire builder he studied used it. They didn't talk about it. They became it. Today, I'm going to tell you what he couldn't. Not because you need more information, but because you're finally ready to feel it. This isn't a step. It's a frequency. And once you tune into it, your life will never look the same. What if I told you that the most powerful success principle Napoleon Hill ever discovered never actually made it into his book? Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Think about it. Think and Grow Rich has sold over 100 million copies worldwide. It's been called the Bible of Achievement, the original blueprint for the self-made millionaire. Entrepreneurs, CEOs, world leaders, and everyday people have credited that book with transforming their lives. People have memorized the steps, built billion-dollar companies off its pages, and passed it down through generations. But there's something most readers miss. Buried beneath the words, woven silently between the chapters, there's a piece missing. Not because Hill forgot it, but because he couldn't explain it. Not fully, not directly. He hinted at it, teased it, whispered about it. He called it the secret, and he left it up to you to discover it. Throughout the book, Hill says things like, the secret will appear clearly to those who are ready for it. Those who have truly begun to think will grasp it quickly. If you are ready to receive, it will reveal itself. But here's the strange part. He never says what it is. He never defines it. He never gives it a name. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the greatest truth he uncovered couldn't be written in black and white. Maybe it had to be felt. Because what Napoleon Hill found wasn't just a formula for money or success. It was a formula for transformation. Not just external change, but internal evolution. And that's something no checklist or diagram can capture. You see, most people come to Think and Grow Rich looking for steps. How do I make $1 million? How do I build my dream business? How do I become successful? And Hill does give us powerful tools. Desire, faith, autosuggestion, planning, persistence, decision, mastermind alliances. He lays out the mental framework for greatness. But all of that is just the skeleton, the muscles, the movement, the life of success. That's found in what he didn't say. It's found in what he wanted you to experience. Because here's what most people don't realize: Hill's book wasn't written to teach you something. It was written to awaken something. That's why he embedded the secret. That's why he didn't spell it out. He wanted you to go through the journey not just of reading, but of changing. Let's look at the facts. Napoleon Hill didn't come from money. He wasn't born into wealth or privilege. He was a small-town kid from rural Virginia, orphaned by age 10. Wild, angry, lost. But something shifted the moment he met Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie saw potential in Hill, potential that even Hill couldn't see in himself. And so, Carnegie gave him a challenge. Spend the next 20 years studying the richest, most powerful, most successful men in the world. Find out what makes them different. Discover the formula behind every fortune. But here's the twist: you won't be paid. Let that sink in. No paycheck, no guarantee, no safety net. Just a belief in something bigger, a purpose, a calling. Hill accepted. And for the next 2 decades, he sat with giants. Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Woodrow Wilson, Theodore Roosevelt, John D. Rockefeller, dozens more. He wasn't just looking at their businesses. He was studying their being, how they thought, how they felt, how they acted when no one was watching. And what he discovered wasn't just discipline, or vision, or talent. It was alignment. These men didn't just follow strategies. They lived in a different state of being. They vibrated on a different frequency. They became the result before the result ever existed. And Hill saw it again and again, so he tried to explain it. He talked about the power of the subconscious mind, the emotional charge behind thoughts, the sixth sense, faith mixed with action. But even then he knew the real essence couldn't be captured in words, because this wasn't something you could copy. This was something you had to embody. So instead of revealing the secret outright, Hill did something more brilliant. He engineered the book itself as a kind of spiritual test. If you read with an open mind, if you approach the words not just intellectually, but emotionally, you'd start to feel it. You'd start to see it. The secret would reveal itself to you not from the page, but from within. And that's exactly what he intended. Not to teach you, but to wake you up. And so now the question becomes, have you seen it yet? Have you looked past the formulas and felt the frequency behind the words? Have you stepped out of how do I and into who must I become? Because the truth is, the secret isn't out there. The secret isn't something Hill could write in a sentence. The real secret, the one no one talks about, isn't about action. It's about alignment. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are while you do it. And if that sounds vague or mysterious, it's only because we've been trained to look for shortcuts, for steps, for formulas. But the truth of success, the kind that Hill discovered and couldn't fully explain, is this: when your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs are all aligned toward a vision that burns inside you, the universe starts to move. People appear, ideas come, doors open, and life starts to match your inner state. That's not magic. That's not luck. That's the real law of success. And Hill left it in plain sight, but only for those who are ready to see it. So today, You've started to see it. End. In the next chapter of this story, we'll take it even deeper, because now that you know there's a secret, it's time to activate it. So let's go back to the moment it all began. It's the early 1900s. Napoleon Hill is still unknown. A young, eager journalist trying to find his place in the world. He's sharp, ambitious, but directionless. That's when a fateful opportunity arrives. An assignment to interview one of the richest men in human history, Andrew Carnegie. But this isn't just a story about a young man meeting a titan of industry. This was a setup, a test. Carnegie had a hidden agenda. He didn't just want to answer questions. He wanted to pass on a mission, a legacy. He believed the world was desperate not for more money, but for knowledge of how money is really made. He saw millions trapped in poverty, not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked understanding. And so, he issued a challenge to Hill. If I gave you access to the world's most powerful man, if I opened every door and connected you to every mind that shaped our age, would you spend the next 20 years discovering their common thread? Would you devote your life to unlocking the true formula for greatness? Imagine that. You're in your 20s, you have nothing, and you're asked to give up everything, your comfort, your security on a blind leap of faith. Hill paused. Not for an hour, not for a day, but for just 29 seconds. And then, with quiet confidence, he said yes. That single yes reshaped the course of history. What followed was not easy. Hill would go on to interview over 500 of the most legendary names in business, politics, science, and culture. He would face setbacks, betrayal, bankruptcy, and rejection. At one point, he went completely broke and had to restart his life from scratch. But through it all, he kept chasing the pattern. He wanted to know, what makes one man build an empire while another dies in obscurity? What makes someone like Henry Ford revolutionize transportation, while someone else with a better idea gives up before they even begin? And over time, the answers started to form. He saw that it wasn't education. Many of the greats were school dropouts. It wasn't luck. Most had suffered failure after failure before breaking through. It wasn't even resources. Some started with nothing but an idea. So what was it? It was a way of thinking, a way of feeling, a way of being. It was an inner frequency, a vibration, a mindset so focused, so emotionally aligned with the vision it bent reality around it. Hill. I started to see that these men weren't just successful because of what they did, they were successful because of who they became internally, long before the world ever saw the results. And that's when he realized something profound. There is no how without a who. You can follow the steps, you can build the habits. But if the internal identity isn't right, if your emotional state, your belief system, your subconscious blueprint isn't aligned with the outcome, you will sabotage your own success. He began writing Think and Grow Rich, not as a business manual, but as a spiritual reprogramming tool. A guide to become the kind of person success is drawn to. But here's the twist. Even as he wrote the book, Hill knew there was one thing he couldn't explain directly. One truth, so powerful, so raw, so unteachable that he had to hide it in plain sight. He called it the secret. He hinted that this secret had appeared to him during his interviews with Carnegie and Edison. He claimed every one of the 500 successful people he studied had used it consciously or unconsciously. And he said the moment you were ready, you'd recognize it. But here's the real question. Why didn't he just say it? Why not spell it out? Because some things can't be taught. They must be awakened. Hill knew that knowledge is only powerful when it's felt, when it becomes real, emotional, alive in your gut, not just in your head. The secret, he believed, was too big for words, too dynamic for bullet points. So he left a trail of clues throughout the book. He wrote in rhythmic language. He used repetition deliberately. He emphasized emotion, imagination, and subconscious suggestion, not as fluff, but as keys to altering your frequency, to waking you up from within. He even embedded the structure of the book itself to act like a mirror, not a manual, but a mirror, so that, as you read, you start to reflect. You start to ask the bigger question, not what do I do to succeed, but who do I need to become to attract it effortlessly. That was the code behind Carnegie's challenge, not just to document success, but to transmit it, to write something so powerful that if you read it with your full heart, it would change the way you think, the way you feel, the way you live, not by telling you, but by triggering something in you. That something is the secret. And now, you're closer to it than ever before, because you're not just listening to a story, you're hearing the vibration between the words. And in the next section, we'll finally give that hidden frequency a name. We'll define what Hill couldn't, and once you see it, you'll never unsee it. So now, here we are. You've followed the clues. You've felt the weight of Carnegie's challenge. You've begun to see what Hill wanted you to see. And now, it's time to reveal the secret, the real formula. Napoleon Hill never told you directly. The one he couldn't write. The one you had to feel your way into. Ready? Here it is. Your emotional state to your inner frequency is what shapes your outer reality. That's the secret. Not desire alone. Not faith alone. Not even action alone. It's the vibration you live in every single day. You don't attract what you want. You don't attract what you pretend to be. You attract what you are. And what you are is defined by how you feel, think, and believe on a deep emotional level. Let that sink in, because this flips everything. You've been taught about success upside down. You've been told, hustle more, work harder, push, grind, sacrifice. And sure, those things matter, but they're surface level. They're force, not frequency. And frequency wins. Because here's what Hill knew that most never understood. Every thought carries energy. Every belief emits a vibration. Every emotion you feel is a broadcast to the universe, an instruction, a command. When you live in scarcity, anxiety, or doubt, you attract more chaos, confusion, and obstacles. Not because life is unfair, but because your inner world is shaping your outer world. That's not philosophy. That's physics. Let's bring it down to earth. Imagine two people wake up in the morning. Same city, same skills, same goals, but one wakes up with dread. Nothing ever works for me. It's too hard. I'll try, but I already know I'll fail. They take action, but from fear, from frustration. The other wakes up with certainty. Today, I move closer to my dream. Everything is working in my favor. Everything is working in my favors. I'm already successful now. I'm just aligning my results with that truth. They take the same action, but one's energy is flat, heavy, and conflicted. The other's is focused, bold, and magnetic. Guess who wins? Not the more talented one, the one with the higher vibration. That's what Hill was trying to teach in code. He wrote entire chapters on emotion but disguised them as principles like faith, autosuggestion, and subconscious programming. Let's look again. In the chapter on autosuggestion, Hill says, plain, unemotional words do not influence the subconscious mind. You must mix emotion with your words. That's the vibration. Emotion is the amplifier. He didn't say repeat your affirmations mechanically. He said feel them. Why? Because your subconscious mind, the part of you that really creates your life, responds not to what you say, but to what you believe emotionally. The chapter on faith, he writes, faith is a state of mind which may be induced by It is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. Again, state of mind, that's frequency. That's emotional tone. That's the part of you that either magnetizes success or repels it. He even talks about how fear and doubt neutralize your desires. Faith and fear make poor bedfellows. Where one is found, the other cannot exist. Translation, you can't feel broke, weak, and anxious and expect to attract wealth, strength, and clarity. The frequencies don't match. And here's where it gets deep. Hill wrote about the sixth sense, that intuitive nudge, that flash of insight, that quiet whisper that guides you when logic fails. But the sixth sense doesn't activate when you're in a state of panic. It's tuned into a higher vibration. You have to rise emotionally to receive it. You have to become calm, clear, confident, aligned. That's the secret he was pointing at all along. The formula isn't just desire plus faith plus action equals success. It's desire what you want, emotion, what you feel, belief, what you expect, alignment, who you are being equals manifestation. Success begins with N. So here's the big question. What vibration are you living in right now? Are you acting from fear or from faith? Are you chasing success? Or are you becoming the version of yourself who already owns it? That's the game changer. The most powerful people Hill studied weren't perfect. They had flaws, failures, fears, but they shared one thing in common. They lived as if their vision was already real. They spoke from it, acted from it, felt from it, and because of that, reality bent toward their beliefs. So if you want to activate Hill's secret, you don't need to memorize another book. You don't need a perfect strategy. You need to change your state. Shift from desperation to certainty, from doubt to belief, from fear to creation. Because the moment your vibration changes your reality, will to. And in the next section, I'll show you how to do that. Step by step. Because knowing the secret is powerful, but learning how to live it, that's when the magic starts. You've heard the theory, you've felt the vibration. Now, it's time to see it in action. Because this isn't just philosophy. It's not just feel-good thinking. This is real. The most powerful people in history didn't just apply these principles, they embodied them. They didn't just think their way to success. They became success before the world ever saw a single result. Let's start with one of the most iconic inventors of all time, Thomas Edison. The light was already on when Thomas Edison set out to create the electric light bulb. Most people thought he was insane. He wasn't a trained scientist. He didn't have government grants or unlimited resources. All he had was a burning vision and a vibration to match it. 10,000 failures. That's not an exaggeration. Edison tested thousands of materials, thousands of variations. Most people would have stopped after 10, maybe 100. But Edison kept going. Why? Because in his mind it had already worked. In his vibration, the light was already on. He could see it, feel it. He said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's not optimism. That's identity. He didn't just believe the light bulb was possible, he believed he was the man to bring it into reality. And because of that belief, because of that energy, the universe bent to his will. Now, we live in his light. Henry Ford. The frequency of vision. Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile, but he did something more powerful. He took an invention that only the rich could. A Ford and made it accessible to every man. That wasn't just business, that was belief. People laughed at him. Banks rejected him. Engineers told him it was impossible to build a car cheaply enough for the working class. But Ford didn't operate from the frequency of limitation. He lived in the vision. He said, whether you think you can or you think you can't or right. That wasn't a motivational quote. It was a law. Ford's vibration was one of certainty. He didn't ask if it was possible. He asked how long it would take. He imagined the future and then tuned his mind, his emotions, and his company to that frequency. And because of that, he built the world's first mass-produced car and a fortune that changed history. Oprah Winfrey. From poverty to power now. Let's talk about someone from our time, someone who proves this isn't about money, background, or even education. Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, abused, doubted, silenced. She had every reason to give up, but something inside her refused. She started small radio, then local TV, and even then, people told her she didn't have the look for television, but she had something else. She had the vibration. She said, you don't become what you want, you become what you believe. That one sentence could replace every chapter in Think and Grow Rich. Oprah didn't wait for success to prove itself to her. She showed up as if she already had it. She spoke with confidence even when she was terrified. She believed in her voice, even when no one else did. And because of that, doors opened, people listened. The world aligned. She didn't force success. She attracted it, just like Hill's most legendary subjects. Steve Jobs, creating from the future, another perfect example. Steve Jobs. He was never the best engineer, but he was always the best vibrator, meaning he lived in the future before anyone else could see it. When the world was focused on pagers, flip phones, and bulky computers, Jobs imagined something completely different. He saw beauty, simplicity, elegance. He felt it first and then he demanded it into existence. Apple didn't become a $1 trillion company because of luck. It became that because of Jobs' unshakable frequency. He made his team believe in the unseen. He carried the vibration of vision and reality followed him. The pattern is clear in every story. There's a common thread. Edison felt the light before it ever existed. Ford believed in mass production before it was real. Oprah embodied her power before the world saw it. Jobs vibrated in the future until the future arrived. They all used the same formula: vivid inner vision, emotional certainty, unshakable, identity-aligned action, and because they lived from the end came to them. That's what Hill was, showing us he couldn't name it because he knew. You can't teach someone how to feel like the future is already here. You have to live it, breathe it, become it. You don't hustle your way to success. You align your way into it, and when your frequency is aligned with your vision, when you vibrate at the level of your outcome, the world bends around you, not instantly, but inevitably. In the next section, we're going to make this real for you, because now that you understand the principle, it's time to activate it. We're done with theory. We're done with stories. It's time for transformation. Are you ready? So now you know the truth. The real secret Napoleon Hill never wrote down, but laced between every sentence of Think and Grow Rich, is vibration. It's the emotional frequency you live in. The invisible energy behind every action, every word, every dream. But theory means nothing without practice. So let's bring this to you, to your life. Let's turn this from philosophy into transformation. Here's how you activate the secret, starting now. 1. Prime your vibration. Every morning, didn't reach for your phone. Don't drown yourself in emails, news, or noise. Instead, take 5 minutes, just 5, and feel the future you desire. Close your eyes. Picture the life you want, as if it already exists. Not in vague images, but in emotion-rich detail. Feel the confidence of walking into your dream business. Feel the joy of waking up debt-free. Feel the power of impacting lives, of building legacy. Feel the peace of knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. When you feel the future now, you begin to vibrate at its frequency, and life responds. This isn't visualization. This is internal alignment. 2. Use emotionally charged language. Affirmations don't work when they're mechanical. You can say I'm successful 1,000 times and never believe it, but say it with conviction, with rhythm, with energy, then it becomes a weapon. Start speaking your future out loud. Daily, I am becoming everything I was created to be. Success flows to me because I'm aligned with it. I live in power. I act in purpose. I vibrate with greatness. Don't whisper them. Declare them. Let your nervous system feel every syllable. Words are signals, but emotion is the amplifier. If your words are the arrow, your emotions are the bowstring, pull it back. Let it fly. 3. Act from the end, not from fear. This is the move most people miss. They act from fear, from I hope this works, from I need this to save me. Wrong frequency. You can't build success from survival mode. Instead, from the vibration of already having it. Ask yourself daily, what would the successful version of me do today? How would they walk into a room? What decision would they make under pressure? How would they respond to this obstacle? Then do exactly that. Don't wait until you've arrived to act like it. Act like it, and you'll arrive faster, because the more consistently you act from the end, the faster you become at BHR. 4. Cut what drains you. Your vibration is your most valuable asset, so guard it. That means cutting anything that lowers your frequency, the news that floods you with fear, off. The social feed that stirs comparison and envy, mute. The people who constantly drain, doubt, or distract you, boundaries. Protect your peace like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. If your inner world stays clear, calm, focused, and empowered, your outer world will begin to reflect it. Fast. 5. Make gratitude your anchor. Gratitude ISN. Just being thankful for what you have. It's the vibration of already having everything you need. It's the bridge between now and your next level. Every night, write down 3 things you're grateful for, not just current blessings, but also the future ones that are already on their way. Example, I'm grateful for the opportunities flowing into my life. I'm grateful for the people aligned with my purpose. I'm grateful for becoming more powerful, focused, and fulfilled every day. This primes your mind to seek the good, magnify it, and multiply it. Gratitude isn't a soft emotion, it's a magnetic force. So here's the truth. You are the signal. You are the magnet. You are the secret. Everything you've been chasing, the success, the clarity, the money, the freedom, doesn't live in the outside world. It lives inside your frequency. Change that frequency, and you won't have to chase anything. It will chase you, just like Edison, just like Ford, just like Oprah, just like Jobs. They didn't wait for the world to validate them. They aligned their vibration to a vision the world couldn't see, and then the world had to respond. Now it's your turn. Don't wake up tomorrow not as the version of you who's trying. Wake up as the version of you who's already become. Walk with power. Speak with conviction. Act like it's done, because now you know. The real secret Napoleon Hill never told you is already inside you. The moment you live like that's true, everything changes. Forever.